So, the big question is this: how are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough, use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams? Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. Please like, share, and subscribe to get new episodes, videos, and other updates. All right, welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. Today, I will be in an interesting conversation with two amazing entrepreneurs. Their names are Jeff Schechter, better known as Shecky, and Jack Gibson. So Shecky, Jack, and I will be talking about entrepreneurship and how it can be treated as a journey of personal transformation. Jack and Shecky are high return real estate guys. They are co-founders of a company named High Return Real Estate, which is based in Indianapolis, USA. Even though their business is real estate, more than buying and selling houses or renting apartments, their service is much more driven to helping their clients to obtain multiple streams of income. So that's awesome. Welcome, guys. How are you doing today?
Yeah, we're great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, awesome. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Same here. We are eager to learn from you and learn from all the wisdom that you have to share today with our audience. Now, when we talk about real estate and, even from your company's objective, it sounds like you enable people to create passive income or multiple streams of income. So let's talk about that first. What do you mean by passive income or multiple streams of income?
Jack, that's your wheelhouse.
That's my baby right there.
Take that one.
Yeah, I love all things passive income for sure. Well, I look at passive income as either people at work or money at work. And that's the only two ways you can really do it, right? So if you have people at work, for example, in a multi-level marketing structure, right, that business model is designed to create passive income because you have people that are distributing a product into the marketplace and you keep getting a incremental return on that based on the sales every single month for however long that product continues to sell, right? So that's passive income work that you did previously. And then you have money at work, right, where you put your capital out there and you're creating an income stream that comes in every month and you're really not involved, you're not active with it. It's not anything that you're actually having to put additional time, energy into. So that's a model that we've created for our investors, is a passive income stream, because essentially the properties are all managed for them. But beyond that, it's a turnkey approach, so that's everything is done for them, from the acquisition, the rehab, tenant placement, the management, the maintenance and repairs. All of that is taken care of by our team. So that essentially is really true passive income. If you're out there, getting calls from tenants or doing repairs, or you're at Lowe's, you're an active investor. You're not passive. So that's kind of the distinguishing factor, I think, is the sweat equity that you're putting in.
That's awesome. So now, does that imply that in order to turn your active income, where you have to work and put in your time, into passive income, you need to have significant amount of investments or equity or cash in hand? Or
Well, I mean, it's a good idea. Like Jack said, you're either going to have people working for you to create passive income, or you're going to have money working for you to create passive income. So, if you're a person who's owning, we call it W-2 income in the United States. and Canada, it's very simpler. But if you're taking home a paycheck and you're taking home a decent paycheck, and you are able to hopefully live on less money than what you're bringing in, then the additional money should be used to improve your lifestyle. It should be used to build wealth. And there's obviously a number of ways that you can do that. There's different investments. There's stocks, there's Bitcoin, there's gosh, you can flip luxury cars too. There's all kinds of things that you can be doing.
Sure.
But in our world, where we've seen more millionaires made and more people develop real wealth is within owning rental properties via real estate.
Yeah.
And, we don't necessarily, at least in our area, see a lot of appreciation, but there is always the potential for appreciation. But the reason that the model works is because you're actually holding something of real value that you can appreciate. And you're also, and that piece of that investment, that property is performing for you. You always have something that's rentable that has the capability to make money. If you're buying stocks and bonds and things like that, to a certain extent, you're relying on the CEO of that particular corporation who is supposed to be true to the shareholders and relying on that individual to actually do a good job and bring profits. Whereas with real estate, you have a lot more control over that. I mean, you can pick and choose which kind of property you want to buy, which kind of neighborhood you want to be in. You can really, really control the process for something to perform the way you want it to perform.
Yeah. Well, that's well said. So the premise of my question was because we have many young entrepreneurs and people who are just trying to get into business for themselves. Many times they sort of they hesitate to get into real estate because it implies large sums of investment. So that's why I was asking, is it comfortable for somebody who's just starting off to start with a smaller investment?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on what area of real estate they're going to go into, right? So if they want to be a passive investor, that's going to take capital. There's no way around it. So they're going to have already used their active, income creation skill sets to be able to then transfer that extra cash that they've saved into, purchasing real estate. If they want to get into real estate, without a lot of capital, I mean, there's different avenues like wholesaling. There's other areas that you can do, but however, like what we're doing, it would not work for them. Like the model's not set up for anything else than people that actually have created capital. So that's our model.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of young people now, I know that, as entrepreneurs, you must have had some struggles when you started off. Will you be open to sharing some of those lessons that you learned earlier on in your entrepreneurial life?
Sure.
Where do we begin?
I can remember that far back.
I'll let Shecky kind of, so I just want to say, I was just thinking about this morning. I mean, business is tough. Mm-hmm. We don't always know what we're signing up for. It's a lot of things in life are tough. I mean, you sign up for marriage and it's like we're going to ride off into the sunset together, right? But it's not that way. It's tough. I mean, it is. I mean, for most of us, anyways. And I think for business is the same. I mean, you sign up, you don't realize exactly what you're signing up for. It's not to discourage anybody, because I think marriage is wonderful. I think business it can be wonderful. But you got to know going in that it's probably going to be tougher than what your expectations are when you sign up for it.
Sure. So just keep going, basically. That's like...
Yeah. I mean, what else are you going to do? You want to live an extraordinary life, you're going to have to go through some tough times. I mean, the average people that, they just live kind of, what is it? They say lives of quiet, existence.
Desperation.
Yeah. Quiet desperation. There you go.
Yeah.
They don't really ever get to experience the joys that we do as entrepreneurs. So I think it's an awesome thing that they want to do. It's just your expectations have got to be, right going in, and you've got to have a coat of armor on when you come into it.
Yeah, that's so true. Like a lot of people talk to me, and that phrase that you used is very appropriate. I mean, they are frustrated and they want to get out of their situation, but I find that most people don't want to take action. So, taking action and then being ready for what's to come. I think that's important. And then, as you said, like, it's a thrilling ride. Like, once you succeed, there's no better feeling than that, right?
Well, yeah, once you succeed, then you want to go off and do something else or do the next one. And
yeah, that's right.
instead of enjoying the fruits of your labor, you go off and start up something else and sign up for the challenges all over again. And that's the way entrepreneurs are built, though, and that's
true. That's true.
We love and thrive on challenges. So.
Yeah.
Jackie, I know you wanted to add something in because you've had quite a few ventures as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've been self-employed my whole life, essentially, and I've had jobs actually where I've gone out and done those jobs, sales jobs, where I know I can make good commissions, basically to foster my entrepreneurial habits. Because I knew I wanted to sock some money away to start the next venture or whatever. But Jack, you touched on something that I think is probably the most important lesson that I've always learned is really resilience.
Yeah.
Even in our business, we're only 3 years in. We've got a very, very successful company, but gosh, we have been kicked in the teeth so many times already, far more than what Jack and I would have ever imagined. And we both came to the table already with some pretty decent successes, previous successes under our belt. So it's not like we were brand new, young kids fresh out of college or anything like that. We understand the game. And even with that experience and even with that understanding, our level of resilience has been challenged to the maximum degree. And it's okay. In other words, a good entrepreneur is going to go, hey, you know what? We're kicked in the teeth, but we're going to get through it and we're going to figure it out. Yeah. And Manuj, you used a word called action. And I think that's the other key component to the magic there is to say, okay, not only am I resilient when I get kicked in the teeth, but can I then get back up and take not just action, but take inspired action as though, am I using that fork in the road or this, current challenge to create a more inspired action, or am I just, still walking around all beaten up?
Yeah.
And so I think those are the real keys to being a successful entrepreneur, no matter what niche you're in.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the growth comes from, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I heard one of your podcasts, and in one of the episodes you mentioned your first paycheck as an entrepreneur was $14. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That was in my the multi-level marketing business I'm still in today, 21 years later, and I had a tough start. I mean, it took me 9 months just to get the first commission check. Now I was making money, so I'm not like totally crazy, like to wait 9 months, right, to get a $14 paycheck. I was making money through direct sales, but as far as, developing a team and creating the passive income, it was the first one. And, but when I got it though, I mean, I knew what it represented. To me, I wasn't disappointed at all. I was actually very ecstatic about the check, just because of what it represented in terms of the beginnings of passive income for me. That was my first passive income check. I actually made a copy of it, and I still have it today, because I knew that, that the amounts were going to go up. So I wanted to kind of document that journey of the growth, right? And I know for sure that, just having two different businesses, both, multi-million dollars in sales per year, I'm most happy when I'm growing, and it doesn't matter what level of which I'm at when I'm growing. It's the growth is what creates the joy and kind of excitement for me. So when that first check went from $14 to $93, I love that. That was great. I was excited. I was just having fun, and the check could go from a big amount to a much bigger amount, and it's probably about the same level of excitement. It's how much is it growing? That's what's really, I think, for an entrepreneur gets us kind of really juiced up, so to speak.
Yeah, 400% increase in a is not bad, for sure.
Right. I think that's important as entrepreneurs, is that we project that out into not only internally and then externally out into the marketplace too, because the marketplace responds to that.
Yeah.
People want to be a part of something that has a vision, that they want to be a part of something that has, growth attached to it. I mean, all humans want to grow. We all want to grow.
Yeah.
So we want to be around that.
Exactly. And then as the growth happens, even even our attitude changes, like, becomes more positive, which people get attracted to, and sort of it snowballs, isn't it?
Yeah, and we tell our guys all the time, when we're training, sales reps, look, you got to have a great attitude first, and then the check will follow.
Yeah.
You got to have a positive attitude first, and then you'll start attracting other positive people.
Yeah.
You can't expect to create and attract success first without first having the right state and the right attitude and the right emotions.
Yeah. Correct. All right. So that was quite inspiring. Now let's talk about some of the hard things, which we touched upon earlier as well, but let's try to get into some specifics. Jack, what can you tell us about businesses that go well for a few years initially and then suddenly fail because of various reasons? Have you experienced it yourself or observed some other entrepreneurs go through this, and what kind of lessons people can learn from that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can just totally tell the story of, how high return real estate was created. When I first signed up, I started off as a passive investor, and I was excited about my return. So I started referring and marketing the properties, and I brought in $5 million plus worth of cash business in the first 12 months.
Wow.
And I tell people all the time, look, that the reason why that happened was because of the networks and the trust that I've built up with other human beings over the last 20 years.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't like I was an overnight success in real estate, but it wasn't like overnight. It was built on fundamentals over the last several years, right? So I was cranking and I was doing great. I was making really incredible, income from that. And then it turned out like the original partner that I came in with, he was, in all intents and purposes, either he was a fraud or a terrible businessman. I don't know for sure today which one. I think it's a combo of both. Mm-hmm. But that whole thing crashed and burned, and I ended up being stuck taking care of all these investors that I brought in. Mm-hmm. That I had to try to figure out how to fix up the properties, get them back performing again, and we've done that. We're about pretty much almost cleared, but that was a major painful lesson of, really like, who do you decide to partner with? I always say the great saying from President Ronald Reagan is trust but verify. I should have verified, this guy more. So that's one thing. But one thing too, though, I didn't verify Shecky's background either, and he turned out to be great. So
yeah, not bad.
Yeah, ish. Right?
So that brings us to an interesting point. How did you guys meet? How did you come? Did you know each other before this venture?
Yeah, so Jack and I had a phone relationship, and no, that's not as weird as it sounds. But I was living in Austin, Texas, which, as most people know, is kind of a mecca for internet marketers and entrepreneurs in the digital marketing community, and I was very well connected there. I was actually working with a buddy of mine who owned a social media agency. And I had helped him develop a coaching and consulting division there. So we were teaching business owners how to do what we were doing in the agency. And essentially, the model was, throw a class, put 10, 12 good entrepreneurs in there, teach them some stuff. And the upsell was individual coaching. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite students was a guy who bought up some individual coaching, was this dude that happens to be on the screen right here, Mr. Jack Gibson. And so I was helping him with his nutrition distributorship. And we already had a working relationship and respect for each other. And at the time, actually, interestingly, I was looking to leave that company because it wasn't mine. I had my own little division within there, but I was kind of itching to get back into full entrepreneurship and have my own deal. Mm-hmm. And I remember I kept a little whiteboard in my home office, and I just wrote down 5 things that I was looking for in my next business. I want to sell a high ticket item. I want to leverage my consultative selling skills. I want to be the best in my space. I want to, and I don't want to work alone. I want to have a partner. I don't even remember what the 5th one was now. But so I just put it up there and just completely forgot about it, just kind of left it out there to the universe. And don't know, it was maybe 6 weeks later, I got a call from Jack, and he's like, dude, I've been buying some real estate in Indianapolis and selling some stuff to friends and families, and it's going pretty well. And I think there's a real business here. Can I book a call with you to just talk about how to market this stuff? And I was like, sure, dude. I mean, dude, you're Jack. I'm not going to charge you. It's not billable hours. Like, let's just get on the phone and brainstorm ideas. And I remember we had booked an hour, and the call went like something like over 3 hours. I mean, it was just, we were on this really great, just the energy was really great on that call. We were very much on the same page, and a lot of great ideas that came out of there. It was mostly just a brainstorming session. So as a courtesy, I typed up in an email the 10 or 12 main bullet points that had come out of that conversation, and I emailed it to Jack. Mm-hmm. And the very next day, I got back an email saying, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, let's do what? WTF, what are you talking about here? Like, it's like, no, I want you to be my partner. Like, you've got, the marketing skills and the bandwidth for that stuff that I don't have. You're looking for another opportunity. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And, I said, let me, give it some thought, give me a day or two, whatever. And I hang up the phone, and I look up at the whiteboard, and I see all the things that I had written down a few weeks earlier. And it's like, check, check, check. Like, nice. Every little box was ticked, and it was like I knew very, very quickly that this was going to be something that I should do. I almost looked at it as like a sign from the universe. Nice. So I got my butt on a plane, and very quickly flew up from Austin up to Indianapolis, and we met with the then supplier, the one that we're still lamenting about, and we bought a couple properties. We started getting involved, and one thing led to another, and eventually, again, partially because of some very negative things that happened as a result of that initial supplier, we were forced into really building this whole business model out ourselves. We were initially just going to be a sales and marketing arm, which would have been great and easy peasy, and we would have done just fine. But since then, we've opened up a property management company and a construction company, and a whole bunch of other stuff just for fun.
Very cool. That's very cool. All right. So you brought up, a couple of things which I have an affinity to for sure, like universe, and I know you are into meditation and things like that. And obviously, we are talking about treating your business as a way for personal transformation. So can you share a little bit about that side of your personality and how it helps you in your business, and also putting this partnership together and making sure it stays together?
Well, there's a lot of answers there. Yeah, I'll hit the highlights. I mean, basically, Jack and I have, and essentially it's like a marriage, and we have a really, really great relationship. And whether we actually came out and said we were going to do this, we sort of have a tacit agreement between us that whatever the issues are, we're always going to talk things through, and we're always going to do what's best for the company. Sure. And you touched on this earlier, Manuj, too, in that the driving force behind our company is everything we do is worked backwards from what is the best thing for our investors, which are our clients, our customers. What's the best thing for investors? Because if it's good for them and we can back into it that way, then it's going to be good for us. And that has served us really, really well. Another maybe side comment is I had a gentleman in my car, a few days ago, and he represents a lot of business for us, and it would really bring our business to a whole nother level. And I mentioned to Jack that I don't think I would have been able to have had the level of conversation that I had with this gentleman 2 years ago that I did the other day. And that's truly a function of just being involved and gritting it out and toughing it out every day in the trenches. So people complain from an entrepreneurial standpoint about like, oh, it's so much work, it's so much hard work. That's true, but it makes you good. It makes you strong. It makes you, like, if you want to be a leader in your industry, then go ahead and do all the hard stuff. Like that's what makes you great. That's what makes you valuable to your teammates. That's what makes you valuable to your partner. That's what makes you valuable to your customers in whatever space you're in. So I say we have to do the hard work and we have to embrace it, but it becomes easier to embrace when you understand what's on the backside of that.
For sure. Yeah, so that's amazing. Now, I was also referring to your meditation practice. So, does that have any effect? Like, how often do you practice, or do you treat your business as sort of a meditation?
I don't know that I treat the business as a meditation because there's too many moving parts.
It's too
I maybe
complex.
treat the business as more the opposite of meditation, which is what we call the monkey mind.
Yeah.
But because we're pulled in a million different directions. But I use both yoga and meditation as a way to completely turn off the business and get out of my head, because there's so much cerebral stuff going on that I really have to tune in. And as you know, yoga, I try to go to yoga about 10 minutes early. And so what I'll do is I'll just lay on my back in Shavasana pose and, just corpse pose, and just feel my body. I'm trying very hard to get into my body and out of my head, because I think that's where, all the meditators will tell you the pathways to insight and intuition come from almost detaching from the stuff you really have to think about. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? Yeah. But Jack will tell you, it seems like 2 or 3 times a week. We have a little walkie-talkie app on our phone called Voxer that we use, and I'm texting with hey, I have this brilliant idea. What do you think of this? I have no idea where these are coming from. Yeah. But I think it's really the function is they come more frequently and more clear the more I'm attuned to meditating, which is not as often as I'd like. Yeah. Or especially when I'm going to yoga often and getting there early so that I can do that practice, then those ideas seem to come and flow much easier.
Awesome, that's great. And have you been? How about you, Jack? Do you meditate, or has Jeff been able to sort of influence you into that practice?
Yeah, he hasn't gotten me there because I need action. I need to be in action. Yeah. But I do know this. My best ideas come when kids are gone, wife's gone, house is very quiet, and I'll just sit out. I have this chair. It's like my dedicated thinking chair, right? Yeah. And I'll just go sit there. Sometimes I won't have a book or anything. Sometimes I'll read a book, but oftentimes I'll just sit there if I really am trying to figure something out. I'll just think for an hour. Yeah. And my best ideas come from that. So I don't know. I wouldn't call it meditation per se, but it's pretty darn close.
Well, it's pretty close, I guess. A lot of people start that way, right? I mean, yeah, they just quiet their mind down and sort of think about their own thoughts, and that's sort of what meditation is about in short, right?
Yeah, and I think that's extremely important to do because we can get into so much. Email box and Facebook and Instagram and all these apps, that are constantly bombarding us throughout a day. And if we don't put that aside and just quiet that down and just have some time to actually reflect and use our God-given thinking ability, right? Yeah. And that's where we get our inspiration from as well. So I definitely take that pretty serious.
Now, a couple of more questions. How did you figure out, I'm assuming real estate was not your core business. Did you have any experience with real estate before this?
I didn't know. I know Shecky flipped some houses back quite a while ago, but the only experience that I had is my very first, bachelor pad house I bought when I first moved to this town in Michigan. I lived there for about 7 years, and then we went to sell it in 2008, right? And we all know that story. So I couldn't sell the house, so we just converted it into a rental, and I rented it for 10 years. And that made me realize, wow, it was never vacant, not 1 month throughout the 10 years. So I knew that, wow, there is a serious demand for rental property. This is no joke, right? Mm-hmm. So that kind of gave me the confidence to say, okay, let's go out and I want to build a portfolio. I want to get more of these like this. And the problem, however, was that in my town here in Southwest Michigan, small town USA, right? There just wasn't enough deals to scale up a portfolio. I mean, I could find onesie twosies maybe. So that's what led me to Indianapolis, is because it's an awesome cash flow market, but you can scale, I mean, almost not, I wouldn't say infinitely, but you can scale a huge portfolio there and get great cash on cash returns.
Great. So, so basically, the premise is like, even if you don't, like for young entrepreneurs, even if you don't know everything about the business that you're entering in, it takes time, but you can figure it out and just be fearless and get in there. And
the ready, aim, fire. No, that's not what we do.
Yeah.
We fire, and then we get ready, and then we aim.
Yeah.
And we just go at it. Now I'm much more so like that. Checky's much more the ready, aim, and then fire. And then I'm the opposite. So together it's like we, have a great, kind of balance between that.
Yeah.
But I think overall, like, you're going to figure as an entrepreneur, I mean, you got to dive in, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make big mistakes probably as you go. You just want to make sure that the mistakes that you do make don't knock you out of the game. Mm-hmm. So if you can figure out how to just minimize them enough to where you can still stay in the game and keep playing, then you're going to be able to recover. So we've made some pretty big mistakes that have almost knocked us out of the game, but through our resiliency and just working through it, we were able to make it happen and make it through.
Yeah, and I will say, Manuj, to your point, I mean, if we look at where we're at now, nearly 3 years later, yes, I had a flipping business. We probably knew 5 to 6% of what we know now when we started this company. It's certainly not 10. Like, it's a very, very small number. Yeah. And most of our success has come from building processes to continue to avoid the mistakes that we kept making. Yeah. Like, what can we put in place to make sure that this never happens again? Okay. Well, and that's all we did. We just kept building, and we're still doing it. We continue to build processes that keep smoothing things out, both internally for our teams and externally for our investors. That's and great. As long as any entrepreneur does that, they will have a very successful company.
Well said. Well said. Now, one of the things I know that you care about is social responsibility. So can you talk about that and how you incorporate that into your business?
Jack, you should take that because you're a much nicer guy than I am.
I mean, I just have a pretty strong rule. I mean, for those who have been, given a lot, I mean, I think it's important for them to be, giving back to others. Your first thing is, you want to provide for your basic needs, right? You want to provide for your family. And then you want to provide a next level lifestyle for your family. And then anything, beyond that, I mean, you really don't need. So we give quite a bit back to our community. There's a long list of different charities and different organizations that we give to. We don't honestly, though, give a lot of time. I find it easier to give a check than to put my time in. Yeah. I think it's for those that dedicate and volunteer their time, that's extremely valuable too. So if you don't have a lot of money to give, you can give time. That's huge.
Yeah.
One thing I did that I'm really proud of is back a year ago, we had a 100-year flood in Southwest Michigan. All the conditions were just ripe, and it flooded out some of the trailer parks that were along the river, and people were displaced. It was pretty devastating, and we raised $5,000. We gave $5,000 check to the Red Cross, but it was a matching check, so we were able to generate over $20,000 to help those families that were in need. And I'm very proud of being able to do something like that, to be able to make a difference for other people. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's, I think, partly why I work so hard, is so that we can be able to make a difference.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Thanks a lot for such a great interview and sharing all your wisdom. Now, before I let you go, can you speak a little bit about yourself, about your company, what kind of service you provide and how people can reach you?
Yeah, so our company is called High Return Real Estate, and we provide what's called a turnkey service, which is really just a complete end-to-end solution for investors that want to own high return, cash flowing rental properties. We take all the risks, so we go out and buy the property with our own money, we rehab it with our own money, we place the tenant, we make sure everything is okay, we call in a third-party inspector, make sure everything is okay, we get it cash flowing and stabilized, and then we sell it to the investor, so they get all the benefits of the tax deductions and the write-offs and things for the expenses on the property, but we also manage it for them after they own it. So almost every one of our investors does not live here in Indianapolis. We're here because not only our teams are here, but the prices are very, very inexpensive. Most of our pricing is between $45,000 and $75,000 typically for almost all of our properties. And they're living in more like where you are in Vancouver and the West Coast and East Coast, all these other places, and even around the world, where the price to rent ratios and the prices themselves are far more expensive than what we can get here. So, because of the internet and being able to share files easily, and the world is very much shrinking from a communication standpoint, it's very easy for us to do this and show the complete transparency of everything that we're doing, even from a distance.
Awesome.
And it's not to say that we don't have investors that come visit us, we do, but the great majority are buying our properties sight unseen, and either way is fine with us. But yeah, we've developed a really, really nice service. And if for anybody that wants to find out more about what we're up to, the site is the same as our name, highreturnrealestate.com. And right on there, you can do that. We also have a podcast called the High Return Real Estate Show. We've got a YouTube channel with the same name. So we've got a lot of information out there. Most of the content that we're providing is specifically for investors that want the best returns for buy and hold type investing.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, just to throw in something on top. So this just happened yesterday, so it's fresh in mind, top of mind. We take a lot of the risk out for the investor. Now, of course, not all. I mean, there's certainly, you're in class property, so you're going to have things that are going to break in these houses. You're going to have vacancy happen. You're going to have tenant turn bills. We cannot eliminate all of the risk, nor should we. We'd have to charge a lot more above market price to be able to cover all those expenses profitably, right? Yeah. But yesterday, for example, an investor reached out to me. He's like, I saw my statement, there's a $3,000, bill for a underground sewage replacement. The pipe broke, from the house to the street, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in Indiana, that's the responsibility of the owner of the property. And so he's kind of freaking out. I'm like, Josh, look, dude, you are in good hands, man. This is why you bought from us. Yeah. You don't pay that at all. That's a warranted item. We are going to cover that for you. Awesome. We're digging, replacing, and you won't get a bill for that. So that's an example of why investors are, why they're doing business with us, because we stand behind our properties and the quality, and we take care of things when they come up. Sometimes there's things as a real estate investor like that there's no way you could possibly know when you bought the property that could happen. And we don't know either, unless you go down and inspect every single, everything in a property, which is very difficult to do and costly. You just take care of it as it happens. And so, yeah, that's what we do.
That's awesome. That's great. All right. So what I'll do is I'll get that URL and add it to the show notes so that people can reach out easily. And thanks a lot again for such a wonderful interview. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it and got a lot of value out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuj.
Awesome.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate being here.
So again, I'm Manuj Aggarwal, and thanks a lot for joining us on Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. And now, if you are an existing or an aspiring technology entrepreneur, then I invite you to check out my new online workshop, Bootstrapping Your Tech Startup Dreams. Go to go.tetranoodle.com/boot-podcast and sign up for free. I want to make sure more successful and sound decisions are made every day in your tech projects. Let's start finding solutions to your problems. So go to go.tetranoodle.com/boot-podcast, and I look forward to helping you with your tech startup.